You're watching Open Agenda. Here's our host, Joe White.
Welcome to Open Agenda. I'm your host, Joe White. So the Salisbury City Council has not had very many meetings the last few weeks because of the MACO conference, and we have spent the last few weeks covering the landfill crisis. So to talk about the City Council, I brought in Dr. Joe Venosa, Mr. Jim Atkins. Thank you for coming out.
Yep.
So Joe, you were able to view the Salisbury City Council meeting on PAC 14 last night. Housing came back up, but what other highlights came up out of this meeting?
Well, there were a series of commendations for recently retired members of law enforcement.
Today we offer a proclamation to one of my favorite guys in the City Police Department. Whereas the City of Salisbury, Maryland, with great admiration and respect for honors Captain Jason Yankelunas on the occasion of his retirement after nearly 30 years of dedicated service to the Salisbury Police Department.
Long-standing history of our agency to provide a retiree with a shadow box. This particular shadow box displays Captain Yankelunas' medals that were described in the proclamation, along with all the shields that he wore and the different ranks he held throughout his career.
I just want to thank the chief, the mayor, the city council for all the support that I've been given over the years. I only hope that my work and eventual leadership was deserving of the support that was always there. So thank you all for everything. This is truly humbling and awesome.
That was actually nice to see. I think, unfortunately, we've become accustomed to seeing just a lot of vitriol and negative vibes, particularly in the city council meetings of late. And so it was nice to actually get to everybody to come together and celebrate people that have done a lot of service. So that was great to see at the outset. And then there were discussions and then they also passed a measure regarding the Adopt a Road program for the city. So there really is, I think, going to be more of a concerted effort to deal with things like street upkeep, pollution management, things of that nature. And that was really good to see because that's something that I think we all agree on and all want to work toward.
So is planning and zoning, was that on the agenda last night?
It didn't come up in any detail. That is on the horizon, no pun intended, because
Jim, you're watching it for the county side.
Right.
They are splitting right now.
They are, and I think both are behind. I think that's something that's really going to have to be addressed sooner rather than later. And one of the interesting things I think that I noticed, not in this past meeting, but in the previous meeting from, I think, 2.5 weeks ago, was that there still is a debate about how many members should be on the city plan.
Well, and how many of them need to live in Salisbury versus not, right?
Correct. And I think the mayor was of the view that 5 would be more than enough. In fact, he said he would be comfortable, I believe, with 3, just given the fact that there might not be a lot of people able and willing to serve.
And that's where the county is right now. I mean, the county's 2 people short.
Oh, really?
On planning and zoning.
Yeah.
With dividing it up. So they're looking for 2 interesting people.
Yeah.
To take that on.
So, that's going to determine obviously a lot about what the final composition of these committees will be.
Well, let's talk about committees because we're going to bring in Jermichael Mitchell and Michael Lankford, who have both been very, very active, not just in attending city council meetings. I mean, Jermichael ran for mayor in the last election cycle, but they've been on a lot of task force, but they're not currently involved as much as even they probably would want to be. And I want to ask them that.
Yeah.
Michael his name came up about the bicycle task force and that was not accepted. And Jermichael, I know him from Parks and Rec from the county side, and I'm really interested to ask him some questions about the basketball program he runs this summer, which is
always sports with you, huh?
Yeah. It's always going to be sports with me. Jim, when you're watching what the city's going through, you're at least hearing it from Joe, does it give you a little glimpse into maybe what we'll be covering with the county, especially things like planning and zoning?
Well, I think you see the same thing. I mean, and you have to understand part of it, even though if you don't agree with it, is that the executive is going to put forward names of people that she wants on these committees. Yeah. And unfortunately, the situation arises where you seem to have a lot of the same people on different committees, and you're not getting a widespread representation of the county and what the county wants. You're getting what certain people want, and they're just being divided into different groups.
We saw that last November when the joint planning and zoning met to consider the increase in density in downtown Salisbury. The same folks you see on the library committee, you see on a lot of committees. A lot of committees that deal with big decisions. A sanitary district maybe might come back up in that.
Yeah, well, and again, I want to be careful when I say this because I think it's great that people are willing to serve on multiple committees or commissions, especially if they're in it for the right reasons. I mean, it's great to be that civic-minded, especially in this era where there's not much of it. I don't care where you are, Wyoming, Maryland. That's an across-the-board generational, and I think it's related to economics because people are struggling more and more to just pay their bills, so they can't do these other things. But I do think there's got to be more of an effort, even from sort of those community leaders, to actually get new blood in the game, so to speak.
Build a bench.
Build a bench.
Back to sports.
Yeah, build a bench and bring in some utility players every once in a while who could bring something to the table that your status quo personality can't always do. I mean, it's kind of like this. If I'm a teacher and I've relied on 3 or 4 solid straight A students to lead a discussion, okay, that can be great. But I really want to get at the kid who might be reticent, who might have something to say, or maybe is not the atypical student who brings something of value. And I think if you look at community participation, the same principle should apply because we have a lot of rich human knowledge and understanding and experience, and we should aim for that.
And you hear so much about these blue ribbon committees and white papers that get written in the county.
Yeah.
But you don't hear about them until the blue ribbon committees are presenting the white papers.
They're over.
Yeah. It's done and being presented. Nobody knew that there was an opportunity.
And there's no minutes left from the meeting.
No minutes taken.
Which is
no opportunity to get your voice in it. Even if it's not part of the committee, at least have a public hearing with the blue ribbon committees where the public can come in and state their opinion.
I don't know why reaching out and wanting the public to be involved is often not done unless they don't want the public to be involved.
Well, that could be. I mean, well, let's bring these gentlemen in. I want to find out their perspective on their community service and maybe even some of their thought process of what's important coming up.
Yep.
So
Great. Good.
So stay with us. When we come back, we'll have Jermichael Mitchell and Michael Lankford in the studio, and we'll have a chance to speak with them. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Open Agenda. I'm your host, Joe White. We want to continue the conversation with some local folks who are actually very active in the community for the city government and even the county government as well. So brought in the studio is Mr. Michael Lankford. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you for having me.
Mr. Jermichael Mitchell, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me as well.
So there's a lot of folks in the neighborhoods that know you both, but not everybody. So I want to talk, Michael. You're very active with the city council, attending their meetings, and you've been on some housing task force, and you've been considered for a bicycle task force as well, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So what would you say your passion is?
I would say through my personal experiences, having housing instability, being a young person, not having familial support, that feeds into that experience of like housing instability for people. Okay. Now that I'm in a better place, I'm just definitely in a place where I'm going to speak up and try to contribute to these issues that matter to me, that are affected, that are in my experience. Because I think more than people having like the right belief or ideological purity about these issues is people having some experience so that it's relevant and their investment is clear in the issue.
Well, thank you very much. Jermichael, I see you a lot at the Parks and Rec Council meetings for the county, yeah. But you're also very active in other aspects as well.
Yes, sir.
What's your passion?
So my passion is youth.
Okay.
I was a kid who came up in a broken neighborhood, and sometimes got judged for that.
Okay.
But I knew my passion. I knew what I wanted. So I've always been a youth activist, just to pour into kids to show that they can do more than their environment.
One thing that's always impressed me, I attend a lot of the Parks and Rec Council meetings, and you're there. But I want to talk a little bit about the basketball program that you have during the summer for the out at Harmon Field for the girls.
So hoopers, man, when they decided to redo the Harmon courts at Harmon Field, it was a big thing for me, especially for the pickleball people, not only to have their pickleball, but they wanted us to have an extra basketball court. Yeah. There was a point in time money was falling short, and they said that they weren't going to go forward unless we got everything that was promised. So that was a very big deal for me, but we decided to do an all-girls basketball league. Girls basketball was dying. I think there were 3 local high schools in the Bayside who had JV school teams. Okay. Everybody else had varsity. No one longer had JV teams.
So there was no developmental.
There was no developmental. So our biggest push was to start developing girls. And what better place than the beautiful courts out of Harmonville. So we started using those courts 3 years ago. It's my third year, third summer. Tuesdays and Thursdays, we run a basketball league for girls 4th and 5th grade and 6th through 8th. So that's that development age where before they get to high school, we're trying to get them back interested in playing sports.
It's very good. I mean, watching like the Y High girls go as far as they did last year, that builds a sense of community as well. Michael, you were at the city council meeting last night, and housing, as you mentioned earlier, came up. And I want to find out a little bit more just about what was the topic and how does this relate? Because at one point you guys were on a housing task force, but you haven't been for the last year and a half, right?
Yeah.
So what happened at the meeting last night?
So feels like we're continuing the conversation all the time when it comes to housing in our community. So when we were on the housing task force before, we tried to crowdsource and workshop through a lot of different community partners how to come up with viable solutions to address like housing. There's just a lot of different issues, depending on where people are, different populations, aging populations, people aging in place, being trapped in their home, is a whole different issue than like student housing or people feel whatever, first time home buyers. There's not these starter homes people are now talking about, and things like accessory dwelling units. I keep hearing come up. Apparently the state wants some kind of ruling on that in order to kind of push like, I guess, what would have in the past been called like a mother-in-law suite kind of situation for people, so that there's I think that people are seeing the limits of rehabilitation in nursing homes to provide care.
We're going to start and lead us into some discussion on some housing related topics, and then we'll discuss and
housing has come up in over the meetings that we have had people come and talk about. Housing, as far as I am concerned, is one size does not fit all. The one thing that is missing in housing everywhere is middle housing options. It's a new word. It just used to be starter homes. We are in an area that has 70% rentals. That includes apartments, and 30% owners, which according to the Greater Salisbury Committee's task force is the opposite of the national percentage. The 4-2 ordinance, I'm going to give you a little background on this. It was put in place to preserve home ownership among residents and provide stability for owners and their investment in their property. It only applies to single-family districts and older established areas. The other issues that prompted 4-2 were the noises from the overoccupied houses, the nuisance issues, parking not available. If changing 4-2 or eliminating it is to find a quick fix, we need to know how much of an increase in inventory this will provide at the expense of existing owners in these neighborhoods.
Well, before we started shooting earlier, Jermichael, we were all talking about echo chambers and really how that really is a bad natural process of local government sometimes.
For sure.
I want you to talk to that, like how some of these task force end up being the same people who really don't know.
So these task force are the same people who sit on the several different committees already. And again, if we're trying to be solution-based, you have to bring new people to the table who have new ideas to be creative. A lot of times we just continue, like Michael said, we're continuing the same conversations with no solution-based. We're not bringing people who we're talking about, right? Like we haven't brought any homeless people to these meetings. We haven't brought the low-income families to these meetings. We haven't brought the single mother who needs help to these meetings. So you're meeting with all the people who have housing. Yeah, we're meeting with all the people who already supposedly have their lives together. And we haven't brought one soul to this meeting to ask them truthfully, what do you need, or what are the barriers, or what are the hurdles stopping you from getting housing? So it's just the same collective of people.
Does the term blue ribbon panel, is that a little cringe? Is that cringy for you?
So it's not cringy, but that's what it is, right? Like it's the higher ups meeting together about people who quote unquote are lower or going through struggles, and we just keep meeting. But there's never a solution at the end. We never say, okay, by next meeting we have to have X, Y, and Z in place to move forward. Yeah. We never say those things.
Well, and Michael, you talked earlier about your housing instability growing up. So when you hear Jermichael talk about echo chambers, when you're on these task force, you're able to bring that experience, at least as a youth and into adulthood there.
I think that like I'm in a unique situation where I have had the experience of being homeless. I have owned my home and I currently rent.
Okay.
And I think that I think one of the issues is everybody in our society, one of the wonderful things about our society is everyone doesn't want the same thing. Everyone doesn't want a white picket fence, right? Kind of life. They want to have, like, part of the point of this country is the freedom to choose what you want.
Why is there a disconnect now? Why is it that you two are not on the housing task force? Why are you not on the bicycle task force? What's the common thread here with our local government or city government getting folks like you all to be involved?
Well, I'll speak for self. I get tired of going to meetings, and again, I've taken myself off several things, not just the housing. I used to be on the NAACP. I'll speak up about that as well. Not saying they don't do great work, but again, I'm about work with the solution-based answers.
Do you think we're allowing the wants and needs of Annapolis and even Washington, D.C. on a national level to infiltrate what we need to do here in our own community?
Yeah, I think a lot of people play politician.
Okay.
So a mentor of mine, when I was first getting into politics, told me our objective is to better the government locally.
Okay.
It's not to be a politician. Politics is the experience of bettering the government, right? That always has kept key to me, right? Because again, you start getting people who make promises or start doing things to amplify their look and who they are so that people from other places can come and say, oh, well, you did a great job in Salisbury, beautifying Salisbury. Let us pick you to be the housing and community development or director or whatever that may look like. So again, those things are just plans for, we're going to do something instantly here to make an impact, whether it affects the city or not the city, because later on, I want to be in Annapolis. I want to be in a different position where I'm no longer even here. So that's what I've seen, where we have these projects, we have these people who they want to go to Annapolis. They want to be real politicians, quote unquote, but local matters more than anything. So if they're not based on local, then what are they really doing?
Well, Michael, do you feel like some of our local leaders they're allowing their political ambitions to outweigh their local sense of what they're supposed to do?
Absolutely. I mean, I think at the end of the day, I think Jermichael and I, connect to this issue in a similar way. Like, I want to see the best community that I live in because that's my life. Day in, day out, living here, working here in the city. That's my life day to day. It's not like those big milestone moments are wonderful in life, but it's really what you do every day. So I want there to be programs. I want there to be facilities that are used by the city. I want there to be, community gathering spots. That's why I do like my art night, which is a weekly community arts event in my home, and inviting people in to experience creativity play, and it doesn't cost anything. And so the city is doing programs like that, but a lot of times it's weird how the echo chamber effect is like they're only reaching the same 300 people.
Yeah, so it may not go to those anyway.
Yeah, or may not have, if there are people that are, I think that the career ambition, the ambitious politician thing, going for like a career in it versus like caring about the day and how it looks like, rhetorically, that's fine, but how you spend your time, like how you break bread with people, that's, if there is a place to go out that you feel welcome to break bread with people in your community, that's actually the place you want to live and create. That's what I'm interested in. I don't really care about some future hypothetical career for this person because in 5 years they hope to. That's not appropriate to the context, I think, here locally.
Just in the county side, the city side, we're 2.5 years from election.
Right.
County side, we're 1.5 years. And we're already seeing folks like Michelle Gregory post that she's going to run for county executive. Megan Alton has posted she's going to run for county council. Why do you feel like you're seeing the election season start so early?
I think people feel that some people their name may have a bad taste in people's mouth.
Okay.
So they have to find a way to start earlier above the game and try to win those people back on their side.
Well, particularly like with someone like Megan Alton, if we use that as an example, there was a controversy around the mayoral race from 1.5 years ago. Elections, there can be a lot of mudslinging, but there's also a line crossed. Do you feel like because of that type of that ambition and then maybe some of those lines getting crossed, that's why you're seeing
the early entries?
Yeah,
of course. You have to, especially when you have campaign managers who make mistakes and do things, quote unquote, that you may not know about. You have to find a way to recover from that. From the looks of things, to certain people, it just looks like a ploy again to get to Annapolis. It doesn't look like it's genuine, right? When you're reading some of the things in their points and punctuations for their campaign topics, are we being realistic, right? Well, or are we just echoing the same things over and over again?
I'm looking at what the campaign platform is now. It's very broad-based and vague,
Yes.
which is what I remember from the mayoral race. What are you looking for from a vision? Or are you looking for details, or are you looking for a bigger?
I think at this point, when I was younger and more inexperienced, I think there's a lot of like tribalism and like team play in the sense of people looking to agree with people so that they feel they can trust somebody else's solutions or proposals because they trust this person's a Democrat, this person's a Republican, this person is a true conservative, this is the real, there's a fallacy called no true Scotsman, and people just keep moving, what the qualifications are. And I think I see that a lot where we just end up this tribalism, so then we end up doing like a round robin, everybody contributes to the conversation, but it's that echo chamber effect. We're back in and we haven't proposed any solutions. So more than, I want people to show me what they're passionate about because that's what I believe you're going to show up about. And then I want to know what you care about and why. And then what you solution oriented, what are you actually going to do? Policy. That is what has always been distressing to me. I generally agree with the vague talking points, but I'm not going to vote for that if I don't know how that's going to translate to like policy. What are you going to propose? What are you going to change?
Well, Jermichael, when you see someone who touts themselves as like a social injustice crusader, in essence, I mean, does that give you confidence, or is that maybe more of, because you've been in this? Is this more of a talking point of someone who's trying to pull the wool over your eyes?
I think it's a talking point.
Okay.
Again, man, when you're looking for a person to believe in, personally, I feel like they should be doing something already in their community, not only when it's time for votes, right?
Okay.
Like Michael was saying, go knock on people's doors before the vote, way before the vote. Go in those communities and talk about women's rights. It's great what she talks about. It's great what people talk about, right? But are you consistently going in communities doing that? Or are you only doing that around election time? It's great to be an activist for something. It's great to stand for something. But how often do you throw those things throughout the year before election?
I mean, one of my observations is some of these really ambitious politicians are very good campaigners.
Facts.
And they're really just not very good at executing when it comes to those executive type duties.
At all. That was one of the things that happened to me during my campaign, which was so funny to me, because a person knocked doors. Right? And we knocked doors. We just didn't get to all of them. But because a person knocked doors, that was why they got a person's vote. So the other day, in real life, I seen the person when she told me, well, I'm voting for such and such because she knocked on my door. And my question to her the other day was, have you seen her since she knocked on your door?
Yeah.
Right?
Interesting.
And
what was that
no,
answer?
No, not at all. Of course not. Of course not. You didn't see her since then. And it was like, I made the mistake and so on and so forth. But again,
I'm going to steal that. I'm going to use that over. I'm going to remind people. It's like, no matter what the political affiliation is how often have you seen them when they didn't need your vote?
Correct.
Gentlemen, I want to ask you where we sit with the Salisbury City Council right now. That we haven't had a lot of meetings in the last month because of the timing, with Mako and that sort of thing. But there are some big decisions coming up. Planning and zoning. We're still talking about the housing as we talked earlier. What's the one thing, Michael, that maybe is you're hoping that you get some sort of vision on where the city's going to go in the next 5 months before the end of the year?
I feel like it's too negative to say I don't actually believe they have the power or ability to do anything about housing in this small of context of a municipality.
Okay.
Realistically, it's just not their role. That's how I kind of feel like that's the wool it's this like smoke and mirrors thing where it's like, let's talk about housing, and we know everyone's pent up about this, and we all know that nobody likes paying the mortgage or the rent, and yet we don't actually have the ability to do anything about it ever in a real ostensible way, like that'll affect anyone. We can change taxes around this or that or waive that fee, whatever, but that's not really changing people's like day-to-day, again, life experience. I mean, ultimately, government's about creating that framework for freedom for people to live a good quality life, and it's like, when it comes to housing, I don't know how much the city can affect. I think would be more effective if they focused on other issues that affect people's housing and how they can live. So something like public transportation.
Okay. Jermichael?
Mine would be just that transparency piece, man. That's big for me, and a cohesiveness, right? I don't think that our county council, city council, I don't think the cohesiveness is there.
Okay.
Right? We have to have a better relationship no matter who, like you said, when you get these positions, you ain't got to like the mayor as a person, right? But together, y'all got to work to make some things happen to make our city better.
Yeah.
So you got to put those personal things to the side and find a way to work cohesively. And only those people that sit in those seats can know what that looks like for them, right?
You get 6 of them.
Yeah, because again, we can guess and say what we would like to see.
Yeah.
But with them waking up with who they are each day, how can they cohesively work together to move Salisbury forward?
Well, I really appreciate that both of you coming in.
Yes, sir.
I'm very proud that I've gotten to know both of you, and it's interesting to see how we all have different interests, but how involved the two of you are out in the community and specifically in your own neighborhood. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching this segment of Open Agenda. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Open Agenda. So, gentlemen, we had a chance to listen to Jermichael Mitchell and Michael Lankford, and going into the break earlier, we had some questions about the echo chamber, the blue ribbon panels. What did you get after having a chance to listen to them?
Well, again, disclosure, I consider them friends, and I have, I've worked with them on some other issues in the past, and I'm always blown away by not just the level of commitment to doing things that other people often don't or can't, but there's an earnestness there, that there's a genuineness to it that you often don't see in local government, and that to me is very refreshing.
Also, before I get to you, Jim, I mean, they're boots on the ground too.
That's what I mean. Yeah, they walk the walk.
If it's a muddy field, they have mud on their shoes. They're not wearing black polished shoes. So,
Yeah.
Jim, I know you don't really follow city politics, but you definitely hear us talk about it plenty. What did you get out of it, and is anything sticking to your mind that maybe will filter into what we're seeing with the county government as well?
I think the biggest thing that I heard is deja vu all over, as Yogi used to say.
Yeah.
You have all these meetings, but nothing gets accomplished. You meet and you talk about something, and you come back 2 weeks later and you talk about something, and 2 weeks later you come back and you talking about what you talked about, and nothing has happened. There's been no progression in getting anything done.
You do realize that you're talking to a university professor here in terms about meetings.
Yeah,
Well, you say that, and then there are some good examples. I mean, I don't participate with this one group, but Wycomico Clean. We've had Kevin Fallon in,
Right.
and we listened to Bruce Robinson talk plenty at county council meetings. Those are guys who go out and pick up the trash first, then they come in and talk about what they did.
Yep.
I don't always agree with what they have to say. I honestly don't. But when they do come in, you're going to say, hey, listen, they know where that trash was on Culver Mill Road, and I didn't.
A lot of solutions to especially local issues are most affected in a positive way by bypassing the bureaucracy. And I think we've developed a culture, this is a societal thing, that we feel like we have to have meetings and commissions in order to almost legitimize things.
Well, when you listen to Jermichael and Michael talk about the ambitious politicians in the area, what would you tell other taxpayers, other citizens out there, that almost like a buyer beware, but what should they be looking for versus worrying about all the negativity, so to speak?
My view is it's built on two things. I don't care what you do in front of the camera or on a Facebook photo. I care what you do when nobody's looking.
Okay.
One of the things I'll always remember from my dad that he always told me is, he said, integrity is doing the right thing even though you know nobody is watching.
Yeah.
And and look, none of us are perfect. God knows I ain't. Ask my wife. But one of the things I've always tried to do is do those things that I thought were important, and not look for somebody else's validation or praise, because it means that, hey, you don't really care about it if that's the case, or you got a deeper insecurity. And it also means that you're actually not doing what needs to be done.
Well, it's just Jermichael brought up an excellent point. When you have these different politicians in different positions, executive, council members, whatever, you don't have to like each other.
No.
You don't have to go out and have dinner together. You're here to run a county. You're here to do what's best for the citizens of the county.
Right.
So if you don't want to socialize and be friendly outside the building, don't do it. But when you're in the building, you need to have some decorum, which I think is lacking on the executive side of this county, not only with the executive, but with a lot of her departments head, decorum to the council, because they are the legislative branch of this county. And you don't have to like them. You don't have to agree with them. But you have to be respectful. And you have to reach a common ground in the middle.
It would help to be present, too.
Definitely it helps. Because
sometimes the things, people I get along least with, nothing's going to change until we get in the room.
I'd much rather have really harsh words with somebody who I disagree with, but we come to a solution,
Yes.
rather than be like, "Oh, I'm glad we can respect
Yes.
each other," and the actual thing doesn't get done.
Well,
You know,
people have forgotten how to disagree with people without being enemies.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. This is all for this episode of Open Agenda. We'll be back next week with another new episode.
And I have been properly scolded by Julie